What's up? It's what are they up to time. So remember, this is two companies in which we own, a couple current events which we think are important to following and tracking, and an update on our concept around discovering value in a world of innovative growth. It's been our research mission since the inception of Avory, and there's more to that story. The two companies today will be Mohawk Group. Many of you probably don't even know who they are, but we've been sharing some information on them over the last, I'd say, couple months, so little pieces here and there. Also Square. Everyone's pretty much familiar with Square at this time, and that's really great news. So let me start with our concept of discovering value in a world of innovative growth. This is extremely purposeful, this statement. It's probably one of the only research missions out there that says innovative, growth, and value all in the same sentence. And we think that's ultimately what separates our research and investment platform from legacy. Our main concept is companies are either making one of two decisions: disrupt themselves or disrupt the incumbents, right? What did Microsoft do in 2014? They decided to disrupt themselves. This was actually a low growth business at that point in time. And they decided to turn their data infrastructure into a platform, Azure. Then they also decided to change their model to a subscription pay kind of as you go model, right? Office 365 into a reoccurring revenue stream. That's disrupting yourself. That's transformation, right? So the two areas in which our concept branches out into is structural growth stories. And structural growth to us means, again, companies that are disrupting legacy and building things which we can potentially be durable and sustainable. Below that is innovation blocks. And again, we update this probably every 18 months. And we will have another kind of presentation on this shortly. So be ready for that. The innovation blocks are the themes in which we are trying to back and find opportunities there. Obviously, valuation is always in the top and back of our mind. But in a sense, it's automation, it's financial revolution is one of our categories, the evolution of health, the evolution of education. These are all categories which are massive and need total disruption and key innovators to kind of get in there and deconstruct it and then reconstruct it, right? So the unbundling and then the rebundling. Now, the other side, again, is transformation stories, which are companies that, like Microsoft in kind of 2012, 13, 14, where they are looking to change something about their business and essentially take a durable company and disrupt themselves, and knowing that they're uniquely positioned to create value for customers and other stakeholders, investors, and the likes. Having these two in your arsenal allow you to move both ways in any environment, invest in any environment. So that's really what our strategy is predicated on. And where does kind of these two ideas meet? They meet in terms of execution. They meet where what's required. Team needs to execute. The product needs to be best in breed, or right there. They need to have a go-to-market strategy that makes sense, where the acquisition costs relative to the value of that customer or those consumers make sense. Understanding that growth engine. So anyways, all like structural growth stories, transformation stories, discovering value in a world of innovative growth. That's essentially where we sit. So now the two main themes in which we wanted to talk about that happened this past month was really around vaccine news, and then also around Amazon's move into pharmacy. We think both of these are, they're both health related, but they're totally different reasons behind touching on them. They're both important. One's for the opening, kind of the economy story, and then the other one's more on the just what's going on in health. Again, one of our concepts on structural growth in our innovation block is the evolution of health. So I'll start with vaccine news. There's obviously there's 3 or 12 companies in phase 3 of vaccines, phase 3 trials. some of the main companies in which are top of mind are Pfizer, Moderna. They're focused on a novel approach, right? mRNA, messenger RNA is the approach. You have Johnson & Johnson, which is focused on a single dose. And that's really important there. AstraZeneca and Oxford also working. And they all have different approaches, a little bit about mRNA versus traditional vaccines. So if you look at a traditional vaccine, they really work by training the body to recognize and respond to proteins produced by disease-causing organisms, such as a virus or bacteria. mRNA vaccines, in contrast, what they're doing is tricking the body into producing some sort of viral protein itself. They work by using mRNA or messenger RNA, which is the molecule that essentially puts DNA instructions into action, right? Inside a cell, mRNA is used as that template to build the protein. So two different approaches. Again, mRNA, messenger RNA, Pfizer, Moderna, these are novel. These actually have never been approved. Now, the most important part for the vaccine news is kind of the timing. So everyone we speak to is, we continue to hear about emergency use, and we want to know how much, like how much of supply will be able to go around. And what we see or hear is somewhere around 25 million between now and year end, somewhere between 25 million a month between now and July, and then right around July timeframe, being able to have some sort of mass use where from a national standpoint, we would be able to really roll it out. And I think this is much more psychological right now. The understanding of there's kind of an end to this, in a sense, where companies and governments and people can all kind of manage their situations depending on what's going on. Second thing to talk about is Amazon's pharmacy strategy here. Now, this is interesting news. Remember, in 2018, they acquired PillPack for roughly $1 billion. And for us, we own Omnicell, which is a medication management provider, robotics, AI, really the leader in that space, right? They're kind of become at one point they were duopoly, now they're kind of, I don't want to say monopoly, but very advanced relative to the competitive dynamics there. Now, they are, the move from Amazon really validates the need for hardware, software, technology, logistics to be infused within pharmacy medication. So this is extremely positive news on the validating the size and potential of this market. As we all know, Amazon doesn't move into something without it being large and high frequency and things like that. Now, a couple comments on kind of their approach here is Amazon said Prime members would get perks, including a 2-day delivery and big discounts on generic brand name drugs. Amazon logistics here is obviously the key difference in why they can potentially execute. Data that we see actually shows that only like 5% of pharmacy is delivered, right? Despite companies like Walgreens, CVS offering in some cases free delivery same day, or even super low cost, like $3, $4, $5. So at the very onset, there's a challenge here, but this is a high frequency category. And as we all know, Amazon loves high frequency categories, grocery, massive high frequency. Obviously, some of the Amazon basic products, which are batteries and things like that. So interesting news on the vaccine side, interesting news on the Amazon pharmacy side. Now, the two companies we wanted to highlight today are essentially Mohawk Group, and I'll start there. What we like to do is highlight where do they fit within our idea sourcing product, right? So Mohawk is a structural growth story. The innovation blocks in which help categorize them is automation and commerce evolution. Those are the two in which we have a lot of effort going there on the research side. And this is ultimately what is driving them. Now, from a moat, trying to understand their moat, I think this is critical. We classify Mohawk as building a moat, and we think honestly, some of the best investments happen prior to the moat being established, as opposed to the moat. But as long as you have a line of sight. Now, what's going on here? It's for our concept here is digital real estate. If you think in the physical world, beachfront property on the corner in the commercial space, that is a moat in a sense, right? If you have the best property, like that warrants higher value. In the digital world, specifically in a marketplace, so Mohawk sells consumer packaged good products. So think dehumidifiers, think other types of products like kitchenware and other consumer related products through third-party marketplaces. And this is a area of commerce which relies heavily on digital real estate. Are you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 once you put a search in? No longer no one goes on Amazon, and I'll show some stats that you don't go on Amazon and search for Duracell batteries. You search for batteries, and whatever comes up in the top 5 and whatever has the highest reviews and rankings, and then you maybe sift through the reviews, try to get an understanding of maybe what is good or bad about the product, and if it suits you, then you decide what you want to do. Now, they are attacking this through automation and data and AI. They're ingesting roughly 1 terabyte of data per their comments to understand where there's product gaps within the marketplaces, and then building products for that gap and trying to take a category leading position on search results. That's ultimately kind of the name of the game here. And as you establish that foothold as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 product on the search, you kind of have a moat around your digital real estate. And that's ultimately the concept there. Now, the second company we will talk about is Square. For us, Square is all about financial revolution. That's kind of the innovation block in which we're focused on. This is a structural growth story. This has always been a structural growth story. And we think they're building network effects around their Cash App business. They're also building switching costs around their seller business, right? The point of sale. Highly innovative, highly well known at this point. Obviously, we're investors in both of these. Mohawk's very new, Square's very old for us. But if we jump into Mohawk specifically, a couple stats and a couple key updates, that's kind of the goal of this, is thinking about this stat. So 51% of millennials have no real preference between private label and national brands. So half, right? And this is the biggest cohort of future spend. So this cohort of potential consumers doesn't really care about brand as much, right? Maybe half of their purchases are brand related and half not. And what does that mean? That means when you sell into a marketplace, you take these digital real estate, prime real estate on a search result, you ultimately have the higher probability of converting that person to a paid customer. Now, they have 62 products with $500,000 annual sales. And really, really important. And in terms of the sheer size, this concept and strategy gets de-risked by the amount of products that they sell, right? They sell 100 products selling the same thing. Each product is less important to the overall business, right? So ultimately, one of their goals is to continue to build out as many high value products and be able to make each product less important to the overall business. And this is happening through 2 ways. They're building it themselves, but they're also building it through acquisitions. And that takes me to some of the updates. So yesterday, or recently, depending on when you're looking at this, they acquired 4 brands. They paid about 50-something million for $77 million of trailing 12-month sales. And these are leading product businesses or products within the Amazon marketplace, and be able to sell this through Walmart and internationally down the road. So they were able to pay roughly 4 times the operating income of this business, put it straight into their logistics and marketing engine. And within kind of days, weeks, we expect this to, once it closes, to kind of begin to generate some of the product sales that they've had historically. But again, if you think about de-risking and adding more products to this suite, this allowed them to increase their 2021 guidance from, well, they never gave the prior one, right? But this was their first shot at 2021, right around 305 million at the midpoint in terms of total sales in 2021. This year alone, they're guiding around 180, 190 million, right? So you have organic growth taking place here. They're trying to launch at scale, like 12 products a month. And they have an 80% success rate in terms of product launches. And this is a company, again, that's doing one of two things: building products organically and acquisitions at fairly low cost. So the other kind of updates is Hero, which is another company that is actually acquiring Amazon sellers. Raised roughly $65 million. And Thrasio is a $1 billion company, valuation company, private. So this space is really, really interesting. And I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to this. As companies build companies on top of these marketplace businesses, I think as they continue to take these digital real estate, it's a really, really important concept to think about. Now, I wanted to do a test real quick. So if I type in dehumidifier into my Amazon, I should see maybe one of their products, right? This is like one of the big, okay, so Home Labs, for example. If you can see that, I don't know if it'll zoom in. Either way, it's right there. Second search result down. This is one of their leading products. And again, it's taking that digital real estate that we think is important. And we should expect this same type of strategy in the future. Now, the second company is Square, 30 million users on Cash App. We think this company has been able to build optionality around their business through creating really, really easy to use original products. So think of the seller dongle that they originally created, right? That allowed them to unlock so much of the point of sale and seller business, creating Square Payroll, things you wouldn't have naturally thought of from a company allowing a payment conversion to take place. So on the seller side, they were able to highlight their ability to expand and create optionality within the seller business. Now, Cash App, again, not that long ago, this was a small product. And all of a sudden, that viral adoption, mostly created through their viral marketing strategy, has really allowed them to get to, again, 30 million users transacting 15 times per month. High net promoter scores for their seller business, high net promoter score for their Cash App business. And Cash App is starting to really look like the original version of their seller business, right? Where the Cash App, this last quarter, they announced that they are seeing a lot of more business transactions taking place. But instead of being a dongle, it's a digital version of it, right? It's a QR code or something like that. Now, a couple updates that I like to share is, one is they made a $50 million Bitcoin investment back in August. Obviously, if anyone's paying attention to that space, that is doing well for them. Obviously, you can buy and sell and transact through Cash App and purchase Bitcoin. Now, the key thing here is, and I get a lot of questions around kind of our thoughts on crypto or Bitcoin. And just even separating myself from that is, for Bitcoin to work, right, there really needs to be utility and use of it in the everyday world, not just buy and hold per se, but buy, hold, use, buy, hold, use, and kind of getting the merchants involved, really. And who's best positioned for that? It's Square and PayPal, really, as they control some of the largest wallets out there. And for Square, for example, they have Square Crypto, a business that they created maybe like 2 years ago now. And we all know their interest in crypto in general and Bitcoin. So they're advanced from a knowledge standpoint, from an experience standpoint, and obviously have a large platform and also an investment here directly. So if you wanted to have that kind of second iteration of the success of it, we've always said you want to own the potential utility along with the businesses that they're running. Also, Square, what do? And I think this highlights kind of the optionality within their businesses, right? Square kitchen display system. They launched that last month. Most people don't even realize they probably launched it, but it's really, really important. Why? Because here's a product of which where the whole world is continuing to shift to orders, deliveries, takeout, multiple apps, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, and others. The reality is if you're a restaurant, you're a small restaurant, all that is so complex. And we've all walked into that coffee shop or that sandwich shop, and you see like 3 tablets everywhere, and they're running Uber Eats out of one tablet and DoorDash out of another. What Square does with software is really aggregate all that. So the Square kitchen display system is really an automated order ticketing system where it aggregates all of that into one single place and automatically allows these companies to analyze some of the data, right? Like how long are you taking on orders here or there? We also saw a patent come out for Square, which was around a sensor that sits on top of your food setting, and it analyzes your inventory, your food inventory. So when you're running low on lettuce, it can essentially, in theory, right? I can think 5 years from now where it's automatically ordering lettuce for you to replenish your inventory, right? These are things that are value add to a restaurant, but also they make sense, right? It's rational to think that kind of, at least the alert should occur. It may not order it for you, but again, so when you start thinking about a company that is building solutions, and one's at the point of sale, the other one's at the point of kind of transacting, that's a unique place to be. Now, when you look at the best way to think about this is stepping back and looking at their payback, right? And they give out some of this cohort analysis. So you basically look at Square seller payback. They give you numbers, your return on your kind of acquisition spend of a customer, of a seller, by how many quarters it takes to get to kind of break even, or how profitable they are quarters after the original acquisition of that customer. So a Square seller in 10 quarters is roughly 3x the amount to acquire that customer. And in 20 quarters, 19 quarters, it's almost 5-6x, right? So extremely profitable when you land a customer. On the Cash App side, it's even faster, right? So after around 12 quarters, 4x return on investment. 10 months, I meant, not 10 quarters. 30 months out, it's roughly 6x. So 30 months, 6x return on investment. So when a company, not even just Square, tells you that they're reinvesting back into the business and they're showing payback periods such as this, as an investor, you should be inclined to want them to even invest more, right? Because the data is there and it's very, very consistent. So that is really it. Again, next month we'll come back with some other stuff. It's holiday time. Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, everything is upon us. It's been a different year, 2020, for the most part. And I hope everyone is doing well, staying safe. We will have more of these in the future, so make sure to sign up. And yeah, everyone be well, be safe, and have a good rest of your holidays.